Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Full On, your Fulham-centric football podcast with myself, Average Jack, Ash Wolford, and Drew Mobile Justice. How you doing, boys?
Doing
Oh
well.
dear, mate, you're right.
Don't know if you go by Mobile Justice much, Drew, but it's on every podcast, so they must know you by that as now.
Yeah, well, it's been around for a while, my friend.
In today's episode, we're going to go over some of the recent transfers, the big ones specifically, and we're going to do a little bit of a tier list. And we're going to go through and decide whether or not it was a great bit of business, whether or not it was a waste of money, or whether or not it's to be decided. We'll start with one we all love, boys. David Raya is obviously now fully confirmed to be an Arsenal player. Obviously, we knew that was happening because he spent last season on loan at Arsenal. But they have paid a whopping £27 million for the guy that doesn't know where his posts are. Gentlemen, how would you rank that transfer for 27 million smackaroos?
I think if you ask an Arsenal fan what they think of that, they'll probably be quite happy with it. They rate him quite highly. Brentford fans seem to really like him too. But as you rightly said, for a goalkeeper who doesn't know where his near post is, he's 27 million quid is a bit of a shocking price tag. I think I'm a bit confused with Arsenal's strategy with their goalkeepers because they seem to have two very good goalkeepers. I know if you're at a club at that level, you want to have, multiple very capable goalkeepers. But how they manage to keep both Raya and Ramsdale happy is, I don't understand it, because if I was either of those two goalkeepers, I'd be wanting to be first choice, and that would be it. I know, they got they got European football, and they got cup games and stuff like that, and they expect to go far, but I'm a bit shocked. If I was Ramsdale, I wouldn't be too happy with that. But I wouldn't have been too happy about it last year when he came in on loan. 27 million quid, considering that we paid what, 8 for Leno. If you're telling me he's 3 times the goalkeeper Leno is, I'm calling you a liar. So it's one of those things, isn't it? So I'm a bit shocked by that. But you know what? That's the way Arsenal do business. 27 million quid for a club like Arsenal isn't a lot of money. They spend that type of money on players to, it's why they're, challenging for leagues, I guess. I just, I, I think it's a bit too much for him, if you ask me.
Fair. Drew, your thoughts?
I can't say I've watched him as much as the Gooners, so they've been more informed than me. But is he really £27 million better than Ramsdale? Is the upgrade that significant? Why is Ramsdale still there? They let go of a cracking young goalkeeper in Akwanku, who's signed with Wrexham now on a free, who has huge upside. And if you look at their comparative wages, is much cheaper. So I would have thought, and bear in mind, my understanding is Akwanku would be homegrown. They would have been looking to offload Ramsdale. I just don't know whether the upgrade or alleged upgrade with Raya over Ramsdale is so significant. I mean, I look at Arsenal and I think, I know they like Ben White, but Ben White's always been a centre back for me, and he's playing right back. I just look, they've got the money. It's not a lot to them, but is it really going to make that big a difference? Is it going to get them from runners up to Premier League title winners? I'm not so sure. I'm
Yeah,
really
I
not.
think I think the only thing we can't vote on here is wait and see, because we've seen him for a season at Arsenal, and we can judge based on that and say that there wasn't a huge significant improvement, and there was a lot of talk on whether or not they would be in the market for a different goalkeeper over this window. I don't think they will be now, obviously, because they've officially signed Raya. But it's a strange one for me, and personally, I'm under the impression that they keep reducing the quality of their goalkeeper each time they purchase one. They let Martinez go. That was a huge mistake. Now, World Cup and Copa America winner, and played a significant role in both of those big tournament wins, and is obviously playing a significant role for Aston Villa. Then they got rid of Leno for pennies, who's been a key reason for our performances and our success since coming back into the Premier League. And now they spent 30 million on Ramsdale. and then they weren't happy with Ramsdale for whatever reason, then they go and spend 27 million on Raya, and it just feels like they're constantly like going down the ladder instead of up it. But that's my opinion of the matter. But as you mentioned, there's the whole Ben White situation of a traditional centre back playing at right back, and they've just signed another traditional centre back who they're going to be playing at left back with their 42 million pound signing of Ricardo Calafiori. Boys, your thoughts on that transfer? Personally, I'm a little heartbroken because Calafiori is one of my favourite players, and as an Italian, it's quite sad to see him joining another London club. I never expected him to join Fulham, obviously, but for that sort of money and that sort of player, I'm going to be upset that one, he's going to be playing at left back, and two, that I have to pretend I don't enjoy watching him play football. But I think that's a good bit of business for the price at £42 million. Gentlemen, your thoughts? I'd imagine you'd
Yeah, I
probably
agree.
have.
No, I agree. I agree. I think 42 million is a great fee for him. I think that whenever I've seen him play, I've always been really impressed with him. He's relatively young. He's got, well, he is young. He's got a lot of upside in the sense of he's just going to get better. And I think, you know, 6, 7 months in the Premier League when he get if he when he once he's fully up to speed with the Premier League, uh, he's going to be an absolute class player. So, you know, as much as we were sitting there talking about Raya and 27 million quid and that being pennies, 42 million is a lot of money for any club and a player. But in this case, I think it's very well, it's very well spent. He's a very good player. I think he'll improve Arsenal a lot. You know, we were witness ourselves last year on both occasions we played them that they are a bit weak in defence at certain points. And I think he will plug a few holes there. And you say he'll play left back, but the fact that he can also play centre back will be a great advantage to Arteta and Arsenal. Because I imagine he'll probably be covering both positions at some point. Um, and I know that Arteta sort of will probably want to play three at the back at some point next season as well. And you never know, that might sort of link in with that too. Um, I think it's a great signing by Arsenal.
Drew, your opinions?
I'm higher on this than I am the Raya purchase. I mean, maybe it's because we know what Raya is, and as Ash has already said, in this particular instance, you're gambling on upside. Plus, the fact he's Italian and defending is what they do. I'm a little bit disappointed, I have to say, that he's playing at left back because I do wonder if that's going to how that's going to impact his development. I would have thought if you wanted someone to play left back, you'd have gone out and bought a left back, but I'm funny like that. They're two centre backs at start are very good. But they've also got White that can cover at centre half, and they've now got Culafau. So I think it's gonna be a good signing. I think we may well be looking at him in 3-4 years playing in the centre of their defence and a fully fledged, established international. And yeah, I just think his upside's immense, which is really annoying.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting one. The only thing that is ticking at the back of my mind, and it's been a long, long time since an Italian has joined the Premier League and prospered. I can't think of the last one in the actual, in the Premier League, so to speak, that was flying off the rafters. Uh, Apart from maybe Zola or the likes of the West Ham chap. I can't remember his name now, but
I don't see that being an issue. I mean, I just think he's going to be good. I just think he's going to be good. I'm just intrigued as to the whole left back situation. Like I say,
he's copying Pep Guardiola, in my opinion, playing four centre backs along the back line and having them tuck in as CDMs when he feels like it, and then having it's Pep 2.0, Pep Junior.
yeah, maybe.
We'll wait and see, I suppose, but I think it'll be a good signing. I think we're all
Yeah.
in agreement on that. So, from the biggest transfer on our list today of £42 million to our lowest of a completely free transfer, Ross Barkley going to Aston Villa.
Thought he went for
Drew,
5 million.
No, completely free transfer.
Really? Well, I mean, if that's what he went for, then that's a complete steal. Cracking player, rejuvenated himself at Luton, was one of the reasons that they were competitive for as long as they were, and fully deserves his. He fully deserves his. Yeah, because it says on Transfer Market that it was 5.9 million euros.
Interesting. I'm going off of Sky's confirmed transfers, where they said he was a free transfer.
It doesn't matter, but I mean,
No, of course,
even if
it's
it was 5 million,
5 million or free, it's still a.
put it this way: if we had got him for 5 million, I'd be chuffed. I'd be absolutely chuffed. I mean,
Yeah,
bear in
five
mind
million pounds.
they've learned I know they've signed Anana and they've lost Louise. I just think that Barkley brings maturity and experience and talent. He lost his way at Chelsea, but then he wouldn't be the first player. You know, I think it's going to be a good signing. And I think I know all eyes are going to be on Onana at Villa Park, but I think come the season's end, I think the whole end will be.
Yeah, even if it's just as a squad rotation player, the depth that he provides now that they're back in Europe is significantly improved. Is a
I think he
significant
might
improvement.
surprise AJ. I think he might feature more than just a squad player.
I think so too, but I'm saying even if that's what he ends up being as just a squad player, even then for the price that they paid, it's a great bit of
Yeah.
business.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a very very good transfer. In fact, looking at it, and we just talked about Raya going to Arsenal. In terms of, I could see Barkley having a bigger impact.
I can see that absolutely. I think we can. I think there's a fair argument for that because we've kind of already seen what Raya has done for Arsenal. I mean, there's a chance that he could still improve, but from what we can experience, Ash, you're awfully quiet. Your thoughts on
I
Barkley?
think look, we had this conversation when we were talking at the end of last season about players that were probably going to be available to buy during the transfer window, and every single one of us said that we'd take Ross Barkley in a heartbeat. I think he proved last year that he's a classy player who, you know, more than proved himself in that Luton side, and as Drew said, probably the reason why they stuck in as long as they did. And if he plays, even if he comes on, and if we look at it from a Fulham point of view, like a Tom Kearney, where he's probably not going to start most games, but will feature in every single game because he'll come off the bench. I couldn't think of a player more that I would want to bring on than Ross Barkley from seeing him play last season. If you're in one of those games where, especially in the Champions League, and they'll have those games where you're trying to hold on to a lead, or you're trying to just calm down a situation where things can get a bit hectic. He's a player you want on the pitch, and he's quality. And as Drew said, he's not the first, he's not the last player to lose their way on the dark side of Southwest Six. And I'm more than glad to see that he's come back and he's proven to be a quality player, because I love watching him play. And I think it's an absolutely outstanding signing by Aston Villa, and they should be very, very pleased that they've managed to get him for 5 million quid, whatever it is. It's a great bit of business.
Him being at Villa reminds me of Grealish pre Man City. He gives me that vibe that he'll be that sort of player, very direct, very winning free kicks, that sort of thing. Uh, well,
Maybe
it's going to be an exciting one. There was another player that Aston Villa have signed. Drew, what was his name?
Onana.
What was his name?
Is it Onana? No, it's
It
not.
is.
That's the goalkeeper, isn't it?
No, it is Onana. You are
It is.
correct.
Oh, is it right?
I was making a joke.
Yeah, Onana. Yeah, the Everton boy. For
Yes,
like, what they get, 60
indeed.
million? Was it Ash?
60 million euros, 50
Six euros. Yeah,
million something
I mean,
pounds.
I understand it. Everton have got a stadium to pay for, which looks absolutely gorgeous. But I mean, I don't know. I generally don't know what sort of impact he's going to have.
He's had what, one good season at Everton, and get 50 million for a player that had one good season. Can't really complain. He looked promising in the Euros, I must say. He was one of Belgium's few decent players. He gives me B-Tech vibes of Moussa Dembele, the way he carries the ball. Not to the standard or caliber that Dembele did, but same sort of build on him as Musa. It's an interesting one. 50 million quid's a lot of money to spend. A lot of money to spend. And I mistakenly said that Calafiori was our most expensive player on this list. He wasn't. Onana is. Yeah. Is this a wait and see, boys? Is this wait and see, or is this
I,
a waste of
I don't
money?
think. No, I don't. I think it's a good bit of money spent by Villa actually. Onana last year, I thought he was outstanding. I thought he was great at Everton. I don't think he was bad at all. You know, and other than the fact that journalists seem to think his name's Andre, you know,
That was yeah. That's
he's remarkably memorable. I think that we saw him in the games against us last year for Everton. I think he was their best player by a long shot, and I think it's a I know Everton fans seem to be a bit, from what I've seen, are a bit either it's a great bit of business or it's a bad bit of business by them. But I think it was a bit of essential business in terms of the money that it'll bring in for them. And I think that again with Villa going into the Champions League, they need players of that quality if they're going to have any chance of making it out of the group stages. So again, if I was a Villa fan, I'd be very pleased with that bit of transfer business.
fair. Drew, your thoughts?
How old is he, Ash? He's early 20s, isn't he?
23, I think. 23,
23,
24.
23, 24. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're looking at someone who's probably 3, 4, 5 years away from their prime. You would imagine that if he progresses, his resale value is going to be quite good. He's very athletic. He plays as, I'm not mistaken, as more of a number 8, doesn't he? He's an up and down. Not particularly. He's not a defensive midfielder per se.
No, he's more of
He gets
more
about the
box to
field.
box.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
gets about the field well. I don't know. I mean, you know, the talent's clearly there. Funnily enough, looking at the we've just talked about Barkley. I feel more confident about Barkley. I'm not saying Onana is going to be a bust. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just looking at it in terms of Barkley is a more right now sure thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but does that come from the value of the transfers? If you were to flip them and say they spent 50 million on Barkley and 5 million on Onana, would you be
Oh, well,
more
that.
sure of Onana?
Well, no, I wouldn't be more sure of their ability as right now, but I'd say you've got a better deal because Anana's upside is massive, and anyone that gets him for 5 million is basically needs to report themselves to the flying squad because it's one of the biggest blags in British football history. But no, I mean, I don't know. I think, yeah.
I
I mean,
think
Villa are obviously
me and
confident
you
enough to
sit on the
part with the
fence
money,
here.
but
Yeah,
I'm not hand on heart, AJ. I can't sit here and say to you, I guarantee he's going to be a star.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
me and you sit on the fence here and take this vote. And unfortunately for Ash, he'll probably have to go in the rank of wait and see on this one.
I feel better about the Arsenal boy than I do Onana, and that's strange because he's never played in the Premier League. I just got a hunch
Or
about him.
yeah, hasn't played for a top flight team either. Obviously. Yeah. Uh, Next on from Leeds to Bournemouth, we have Sinisterra, 20 million Great British pounds for the winger.
I think they hit a home run with Alex Scott from Bristol City. I think I was very disappointed Fulham weren't in on Scott. I think he'll work out fine for them. I don't think he'll be expected to carry the load. I think he'll be an option player, which is fine for because they've got talent. But I think it's a decent buy. I think it's a decent buy As long as you're not going to. From what I understand from, I know a couple of Leeds fans. He consistency was always a bit of an issue for him and temperament, but I think he's going to have more talent around him and more support because say what you want about Bournemouth, it's a well-run club and they're a tight-knit team. So I don't think he'll be expected to carry the load, and I think he'll do all right there. I think the Cherries have made a smart purchase.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. It's one of those. Is he going to perform? If he does, he's going to be excellent. If he doesn't, he's going to be poor. But at 20 million, have you really gone wrong? Even if he doesn't work out, like even bottom of the barrel, the guy scores no goals in 2 years, you'd probably still get 15 million quid back for him
Well, this is
from
what I'm saying. At
someone.
his age, his resale value is not. I don't think it's going to drop off that much.
Nah,
We're not talking Donny van der Beek here, are we? 39
nah.
million to $500,000.
Yeah, I think we've got to just say that I'll obviously wait and hear Ash's opinion first, but in my opinion, this is a good bit of business.
But my opinion is that obviously it's come from automatically from because he made a certain amount of appearances last year with Bournemouth on loan, and it was just part of the deal that they had to spend 20 million quid on him. 20 million quid doesn't buy you an awful lot in terms of Premier League quality player anymore. 10 years ago, 20 million players were, expected to be getting you into Europe. 20 million quid now, you're not really expected. That doesn't buy you an awful lot, 20 million quid. And we saw last year in the game against Bournemouth that he's potent and he can score. Uh, and I think it's one of those things that, as Leeds fans have correctly said, he is a bit hit and miss. He's a bit hot and cold, but when on those days when he's on, he's every bit of a £20 million player. The problem is the days when he's not on. But again, as you just said, even if he does nothing, you probably get 15 million quid, send him off again next season, and £5 million for a player in the Premier League, loss isn't the worst. So I don't think it's a bad bit of business by Bournemouth at all.
So we're all agreeing, good bit of business.
Yeah.
Cool. We got 4 more names to go through, and the first one is an interesting case. You know a bit more about this player, Ash. Igor Thiago. Tell me the story.
Well, obviously Brentford have for the first time, they spent a decent wedge of money on a footballer. That they're not expecting to, prove he's worth 45 million to then sell him on. They bought a player who's already proven himself. I watched quite a lot of Bruges play last year, mainly because I was kept keeping up with watching Dennis Adoy. Um, and uh, he's a great striker. He's a good striker. The only problem is obviously for Brentford is they spent 30 million quid on a player, probably in the looks that he was going to be a Tony replacement. And they probably jumped ahead and gone, we'll spend 30 now because as soon as people know we have money from selling Tony, they're going to be quoting us stupid money for strikers. Uh, they've gone ahead, they've jumped the gun, they bought him. He played one preseason friendly and he's injured and he's probably going to be out for at least 3 to 4 months. Um, I don't, as much as, Fulham hat on and, we like to take the mick out of Brentford. That hurts from a football fan's point of view. That you don't really like to see. You don't really like to see it happen to clubs that, especially clubs like Brentford that have sort of gone against their traditional way of doing business. But it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Tony discussion point is something we'll talk about on a different day because there's a lot going on about, in regards to that transfer. Him either waiting to see out the end of his contract or them slashing the price. But we can talk about that when we talk about potential transfers. In regards to the actual transfers that's happened, I don't know an awful lot about Igor Thiago. I've heard promising things, but it was smart of them to spend money on a striker in the anticipation that Tony's going one way or another. And it's sad to see that he's got injured. I think with him being injured for now, I'm going to have to say this was a waste of money. That's probably not fair on him or Brentford, but I can't say wait and see for someone that might not feature until maybe gone Christmas, if that makes sense.
Not really, because you got to wait and see. No one can anticipate injuries. Brentford, I mean, we all like to. I mean, I know they've got a real hard on for us. I mean, they don't blow my skirt up at all. I mean, they really don't. But they're a well-run club. Like you say, he was brought in anticipation of Tony leaving. Tony, and I appreciate Tony's probably a whole topic discussion in himself. He's made it abundantly clear he doesn't want to be at Brentford. I mean, he's alienated their fans. I'm surprised someone like Tottenham hasn't come in for him. But going back to Thiago, they did the smart thing, anticipated Tony was leaving. They got him in. No one could have foreseen his injury. It's unfortunate for them. They've got no option but to wait and see. I, however, have got a sneaky feeling they've probably got it right because, to be fair to them, I mean, bear in mind they got rid of their academy for years. They've been very good at recruitment and scouting. Their scouting, you've got to give them credit, has really kept them relevant. So if you're asking me to bet, I would bet, and this is obviously subject to how he comes back from his injury, because we all know. Ash, what is his actual injury? Because I don't know what it is.
I was
I
about
mean,
to ask the same.
I think he's done a metatarsus knee. Give me 1 second. I'll just double
no,
check
sorry.
it.
So I mean, it's 3 months. So we're not looking at like an ACL or like major reconstructive knee surgery that would take him like 6 to 9 months. So hopefully he's looking at an injury he can come back from.
Yeah, knee injury as a striker isn't like, it's problematic, obviously, but it's not like a hamstring.
Well, I
That's
mean, you do the ACL. I mean, if you can, I know there's massive improvements in medical technology, but if it's I say just a foot injury, I know how devastating they can be. But 3 months is better than losing him for 6 to 9. I would back Brentford to have got this right, and I think he will prove to be a good buy in time because they're shrewd in doing what they do. The interesting thing, and I know AJ, you said we've got to keep away from Tony because it's a whole subject in itself. I totally understand that, but it does make me wonder whether they are prepared to ride it with him because they now have lost Thiago and they need the cover at least until Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, there's apparently not a lot of interest in Tony at the moment in the market because of their asking price. They're apparently going to half their asking price to try and get him off the books.
What is
Um,
their asking price, man? What they want, 70, 60, 70 million or something?
I think it was £50 million from what I heard. 50 million.
He's got to be worth 35 of someone's money. I mean, he's 28 years old and he's an England international. And he scores
He's
goals,
what
proven Premier League goal scorer.
he's worth 30 million quid just for his penalty taking ability. You know, we've seen that. We've seen that at Fulham. Anyone, if you have somebody to take penalties, then we take them in. I think the biggest as much as we all like to have that conversation when it was Mitro versus Tony about who was better, I would take Tony in a heartbeat, and that just says how good he is. As
What,
bad as his
as
attitude
an all
is,
round player?
yeah, as a footballer, yeah. If you take away the attitude from the player, I'd take him any day. The problem is with Tony, and I think this is what putting players off, clubs off signing him, is the attitude that goes around the player. And I know that you have to have a certain amount of confidence as a striker and a certain amount of arrogance to do what he does. But you know, as we'll talk about it another time, he's put Brentford down a few times, not playing for them. And I wouldn't be happy if it was my striker doing that.
He's the sort of player that seems suited to Italy for me. He's got that arrogance about him, like a lot of their strikers have. The sort of player that would go out there, do well, score a hell of a lot of goals, and be able to act like the biggest big shot known to man, when realistically, just don't care. Moving swiftly on, because we've got 3 more names to cover, and we are hitting the half an hour mark. So we'll quickly go through these ones. We'll go with the £30 million spent on Dewsbury Hall.
Oh, Chelsea, make me laugh. Is he that much better than Conor Gallagher?
I don't think he's better than Conor Gallagher. Just end
I mean,
of.
what are they doing? What are they doing? I
They're
don't
Wasting
doing what
money.
understand.
Chelsea always do. They're doing
I
what
don't
Chelsea always do.
I
They're
don't
throwing
understand.
money at the problem.
I've got nothing against Dewsbury Hall at all. I genuinely don't. He's going to be, this contract going to set him up for life. All credit to him, but he's at an age where he needs to be playing. He needs to be playing, and I just don't understand the transfer. I don't understand why Chelsea wanted him. I don't understand why he wanted to go there. I really don't. This to me, I mean, AJ, you'll know because you're the brains.
Yeah.
Southampton midfielder a couple of seasons ago, Liverpool wanted him. What was his name? And he went to Chelsea instead. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about. Really good, young, gifted, and black. He was really, really good. Really good. And I've forgotten his name and I cannot remember it.
Southampton player.
Liverpool were after him and he chose Chelsea.
Oh, he's still injured. Yeah, I think he's made like one appearance and then
Yeah,
got
exactly.
back-to-back injuries. Yeah,
Exactly.
I can't remember his name, but
But
yeah,
he was a cracking player.
yeah, it
Cracking
was
player. You know what I'm talking about.
Liverpool were after him
The Brighton boy and
or Caicedo and
Caicedo, that's right. And they got them both.
Chelsea, Lavia.
That's right. Lavia. Yeah. No, I appreciate that Dewsbury Hall and Lavia are not the same player. Dewsbury Hall is more of a Conor Gallagher type player, and Lavia is more of an 8. Okay. But I think that I just don't understand it. Don't understand it. I think it's a ridiculous transfer.
No, it's one of those that they've bought him in the attempt of getting more money for him later down the line. I think it's just one of those. It seems to be Chelsea's policy at the moment: buy them young, buy them young, buy them fresh, put them on big contracts so that there's a big buyout clause, and hope that one of them blows up that they can sell for 200 million and cover all of the money spent on the other ones. Basically, it's a really strange strategy um, because it creates absolutely no team chemistry, as we've seen with 2 or 3 separate managers now. And based on Chelsea's pre-season so far, it's going to be another season of the same. But pre-season's pre-season; you can't base it on that. Are we all in agreement that that's a waste of money? No offense, no offense to Dewsbury Hall, but just under the circumstances. Onto a slightly more impressive one, and I wonder whether or not he's got long throw-ins as well. Liam Delap of previously Manchester City, now of Ipswich Town for £20 million, which is interesting because if I'm not mistaken, Man City have both a buyback clause and a sell-on fee, so it could go one or two ways with this one.
I think they're more likely to be cashing in on the sell-on fee than they are the buyback clause. I think from Ipswich's point of view, no one expects them to survive. I think they've made some good signings. I think Delap has got a huge amount of upside. The only thing that concerns me about him is I was expecting him to have broken through somewhere by now because such was his reputation. I appreciate he may suffer because of the shadow cast by his dad, but I think for 20 million, if I was an Ipswich fan, I'd be chuffed.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good bit of business in my books, and Ipswich are keen to try and prove everyone wrong. They've spent, I think, about £100 million already this window, and in key areas. They haven't just thrown it at the wall and see what's stuck. They've replaced players they needed to replace. I wouldn't be surprised if we find ourselves looking at Ipswich sort of 12th, 13th place come the end of the season. Not that I think they'll do that well, but I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But I think Delap is a tidy purchase. Ash, you in agreement?
Yeah, I can put it into sum it up very quickly and very easily. They've replaced Sonny Aluko with Liam Delap. Great bit of business. Well done, Ipswich.
Fair play. And we'll go with one final one, which is Manchester United, because we have to bring them up at some point because they are typically what bring up YouTube audiences these days and all of that. They signed Xerxes, which is an interesting transfer for me, £36.5 million. I don't understand it. They've just previously went and signed a young up and coming striker, and then they go and buy another young up and coming striker, you would have thought they would have gone for maybe even someone like Tony, Prem proven, hold the line, teach the young
This
player.
this this guy Zerky is bit of a more of a target man in the image of Weghorst, who Eric Ten Hag really liked. I don't I find it a strange signing. I really do. I would have thought they would have looked elsewhere in other parts of the team. Myself, I think Hoyland is still young, still learning his trade, but I think he's going to score goals. Rashford, we know that he can score goals, but has he overstayed his welcome, or is his time up? Has he gone stale in Manchester? I'm just not sure. To incorporate Zerky into the team, I think they're going to have to change their style, because I don't think he's not, from what my understanding, he's not a break the back line, get behind the centre back type of player. He's more of a focal point. I'm just not sure how that's going to work.
They've got two players of near identical profiles in terms of their style in Xerxes and Højlund.
I disagree with that. I think Hoyland's more mobile, and more likely to run on in behind. He just doesn't seem to be like a Manchester United player. He just sort of player you'd find someone playing for the top 10, but more
West
for
Ham.
more for functionary. No, but that's not a bad shout. I'm not sure how he's going to fit in, but it's Manchester United, and quite frankly, I don't care. They're roof leaks, and they are. Yeah,
So
I
does their
mean,
defence.
so does their defence. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, what can you say? Anyway, that's my 2 pence on that.
And Ash, your final thoughts before we finish up for today?
I think he had a good season for Bologna. I think he looked decent during the summer. I think that I'm gonna say wait and see, but only because I'm quite interested to see how he fits into uh, Ten Hag's system. But I don't think he's a bad player. So, I'm on the fence with it.
You lost me at Ten Hag's system, and on that note, we will bid everyone adieu. And thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.
Bye.